Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Today I'll be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And today I feature to you a sweet 5-0 with this ABB team. Well, it's from pvpoke.com, okay? You have a Boulder, you have an Ice Fox, and then you have the Ice Queen. No, it's not Elsa. Please do not sing Frozen. Oh my god. So I was like gonna buy presents for like my nieces in the Philippines, and they're like, can I get a Frozen doll? And then I'm like, why? So you can let it go? And then they just looked at me like, really? Really, uncle? I'm like, okay, you know what? Here, what doll do you want? What doll do you want? Just take it. Anyways, that was part of my morning for this day. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a sweet 5-0 with ABB. And oh, I forgot my mental health tip for the day. Mental health tip for the day. So this is actually in relation to the fact that this is a double ice team. So, when you sleep is important for your mental health. You need to get your 8 hours. I know some of y'all are like, I need to grind Pokemon Go like 26, 39, 69 hours a day. But you know what? Your sleep is important, and it helps you actually live like 20 years longer. And in order to get a good night's sleep, not only do you have to regulate your circadian rhythm, where you have to sleep at like the same exact time. So that's why people call it a sleep schedule, because these things actually exist. It's called your circadian rhythm. This is when you naturally wake up and go to sleep. For the King of Charmanders, it's about 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or like 5:30 a.m. So I'll wake up, I sleep in between like 10 to 10:30, and then I'll wake up around like 5:30 to 6. So that's how my circadian rhythm kind of goes around. You can mess it up for like 1 or 2 times, but when you jack it up even once, it pisses you off, and it's going to be really hard for you to just stay asleep. So, yeah, you could get it. Yeah, you could like go off of it, but it might take you a little bit to go off unless you're just like really tired. For example, I do like 3 workouts at the day. I work out in the morning, and then I freaking coach my wrestling kids, but I'm not just yelling at them. I'm actually running, doing sprints with them, and I'm drilling with them. And sometimes I'll be there training dumping because no one else has a partner. But Lightweight doesn't have a partner. So I'm like, okay, here, throw me around, go. And it's like 3 workouts. And then we do sprints after. So it's like, okay, like 4 workouts in one day. So, I mean, that's natural when I do jujitsu, but like, you know what I mean? Yeah, make sure you get enough sleep, because it's important for your mental health, because when you are tired, it sucks. It sucks. So, that's my mental health tip for the day. And oh yeah, I forgot how this correlates with it. Basically, sleep in the cold. In your sweet spot in your room should be around like 60 to 66 degrees. Something around that sort. So, actually, no. Actually, yeah, no, it's like 62 to like 69, something like that. I'm not joking with you. This is like the optimal sleep temperature. My sweet spot is like 19 degrees Fahrenheit or 66 degrees. So, make sure it's cool in your room. It helps you fall asleep faster and helps you get your melatonin in your body going so that you can fall asleep faster and get a good night's sleep, which is also good for your mental health and your physical health as well. But yeah, anyways, enjoy this sweet 5-0 with the sweet ABB team. I hope y'all enjoy the battles. Alright, so here are the battles. Again, I love my shiny Alolan Graveler, but this is kind of... I like the double ice just because it does do well against things like Trevenant. Also, if you get Stunfisk, etc. in the back, it's really strong. As you see here, they switch out of their Talonflame immediately because Rock Blast is going to eviscerate that poor little chicken burb. KFC, Cane's, whichever chicken restaurant you like and aspire to eat at for your next, you know, Chick-fil-A actually sounds pretty dang good right now. The issue is I already had breakfast and lunch, so that might be too hefty of a meal. Plus, I have to go to Safeway anyways to buy some things to cook some holiday dinner. Yes, King of Charmander does cook. And yeah. So, this kind of sucks here because, as you see, I'm not sure if this Body Slam kills. If it does, this is a really bad play, and I think this is a really bad play, so... As you see, your Body Slam doesn't kill, so King of Charmander is like, oh my god. What? The Body Slam's double resistance, so my brain is like, you know what? you're not a, I mean, you're not like a rank 1, but you know what, you should live, and she does. That's how baller Frostless is. And speaking of balling, we just totally ball on this freaking Talonflame. The idea here is just to send in AGrav and just farm this thing down and then just tear the back row a new hole. And it happens to be a Roserade, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible for you. And I forgot to mention, so King of Charmanders actually forgets to change his fast move. I forgot to change it to Powder Snow. So, yeah, you're probably looking at me like King of Charmanders. I'm like, yeah, I forgot. I know, I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot. And as you see here, I'm just going to eat this first Weather Ball. That's fine, though, because we still win, because all I really have to do is save the shield and then farm down that Talonflame, and that's all I really have to do. Outside of that, this is pretty much GG's to our opponent, but that's the funny part. And yeah, I was like, oh, I forgot, and I thought that would screw my win con, but no, it didn't. Actually, many moons ago, not having the right A9 actually screwed my win condition, so yes! Make sure your A9s, if you are going to not just make content, but you are going to actually use it in a competitive sense, make sure your freaking fast moves are the correct variation. Double check before every tournament. Yeah. And as you see, my opponent just quits out, but that's okay because you practically win anyways. All I have to do is save that shield, and then you just zap down that poor freaking Talonflame. That's GG's. For the second match, we get the mirror match. However, shinies do more damage, and my shiny is better than yours. It's bigger, it's shiny, it's got gold plated, it's got that tan. You see? My freaking AGraveler is amazing. And what's going to happen here is, as you see, if you get the mirror match, try to get that extra Volt Switch shoe, which you theoretically should get unless you lost a turn. If you lose a turn because of the losing one fast move glitch, then GG's. But as you see here, all I'm doing is I'm just making sure I fire on the right interval so they don't get another Volt Switch through, and I don't give them extra energy on accident. And we get the bait, which is great. So that means they're already really ahead of our opponent right now because of energy. And as over here, I'm going to steal because if you do eat a Stone Edge at this level, you are going to die. So as you see, they fire the Stone Edge, and we called it, and thank you, because now I'm just going to fire one more Volt Switch off, and I'm going to try to get this last shield. If we get this last shield, because we're going to finesse the crap out of our opponent, we should GG them pretty hard right now. Rock Blast goes through, and we do happen to grab the shield, and it's only going to take me one Volt Switch before I Stone Edge this freaking AGrav to the next Ice Age. Well, not really. Yeah, we're not using ice, we're using Grox from the... But you know, like, mountains from the freaking, like, come from the earth can get frozen, so you know what I'm talking about? Anyways, we get a freaking Venusaur, and at this point, I'm really praying I'm able to get this Stone Edge before they get to a Frenzy Plant, and sure enough, I do. This won't KO, however, this will deal heavy damage against this Venusaur. So we get the Stone Edge off, and it should deal heavy damage, and it does. I'm going to switch in a Frostless in hopes I could farm this down before it gets to move off, and unfortunately, I am unable to. This Frenzy Plant is going to do some heavy damage, and my opponent's either one going to switch out, or they Sludge Bomb me out of disrespect. The disrespect. No, seriously. The disrespect. Why didn't you... Well, at this point, I'm kind of scratching my head. I'm like, why didn't you fire the Frenzy Plant? Or maybe they mistapped. Because if you fire the Frenzy Plant, then you're actually... I think I knew what they were thinking, or they did that on purpose, because what my opponent was thinking was that they were going to Sludge Bomb and get extra farm. But that's still a really terrible idea, because both of your Pokemon are almost dead, so that's GG's. As you saw there, Volt Switch down was basically all it took, and I never even had to use Alolan Ninetales. So it was like, I mean, it wasn't the wrong play, but you know what? You're already, like, practically dead, so it's what it is. Next up, we get AGrav into Altaria. This is why I love AGrav. That Rock Blast pressure against these Flyers is absolutely incredible. So usually what I'll do here is I try to get a Stone Edge through shields. That way I could just straight freaking Rock Blast to victory. Or I grab a shield anyway, so you don't... Or I do the exact opposite of exactly what I was going to tell you, because I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling lucky today. Maybe they won't fall for the bait. And they didn't fall for the bait. Yeah. I was looking to myself, I was like, you know what, why don't I just do what I usually do? And I'm just like, whatever. So anyways, all we're gonna do is just straight Rock Blast. I mean, we're gonna take their shields anyways, regardless. So the idea here is to either grab a shield or two, or I'm gonna leave this thing nearly dead so I could farm it down Frostless and get some extra energy before I swap out. They elect to lose the lead, as you see here, and we get a Frostless. And this is actually kind of bad, because with this Rock Blast, I should be able to break a shield unless they elect to not shield. But a Frostless with energy and even shields with an advantage is a terrible thing to have. I will switch in Alolan Ninetales just because I want to sponge all this damage. And I swear to you, I switched it. That's why you see here, I'm no longer using a Charm A9. We're gonna eat the Shadow Ball, but this is alright unless it's a freaking Talonflame. And then I'm like, oh, this is grand. Not really grand at all. As you see, that Incinerate went through. We're gonna fire this Weather Ball, and I'm in a lot of trouble right now. This is gonna be a really nutty battle, because I have shield advantage, but they have energy on Talonflame, and they have energy on Frostless. So I'm just, like, scratching my head. I'm like, oh, this is going to suck on so many levels. If you know what that movie is from, we can be friends. Actually, it's Final Destination. Don't watch it. It's a terrifying movie. Halloween has already passed, so you don't need to do that to yourself. As you see here, my idea for a win condition, though, is to literally farm down this Talonflame. I'm going to farm down the Talonflame, and I'm going to double up, and hopefully at 100 energy, I will be able to take out their Frostless in the back, because their Frostless already has an energy leak, so we're kind of screwed already. As you see here, this is really ballsy. This is really freaking ballsy. I switch into AGraveler so that it takes that Incinerate, and by manipulating the fast move damage, they won't be able to take me out. And now what I'm going to do, in order for me to win, I must bait with Avalanche and then Shadow Ball for the W. This is an insanely complicated win condition. But as you see here, we do break that shield, and then we're going to ball out for the dub, because that was my only win con. Oh my god, G freaking G's. You just got Finesse with expert energy advantage and a really freaking coconut, freaking big giant coconut Pluto size. Oh wait, Pluto doesn't exist as a planet. Pluto size plate from hell. I hope y'all enjoyed that. God, that was sweaty. Speaking of sweaty, we got Legend on Legend action, and it's going to be Talonflame into AGraveler, which means we win the lead, which is pretty great for us. But they're going to switch out immediately, and it is a Zangoose. So I'm like scratching my head. I'm like, a Zangoose? And I'm like, oh, this thing has Foul Play and Close Combat. Not only that, it's shiny. That's a shiny. Shiny Zangoose looks pretty dang dope. I call the bait, which is great because I really, I'm like, oh, a Close Combat hurts a lot from a Zangoose. A lot. You get hit by it, what's gonna be one punch, man, except the one thing that's gonna explode it's not good for you. Like, the one punch you get isn't good for you, it's good for them. And as you see here, watch what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get one punched, and this will KO. And that's this point, I'm just like, are you freaking serious? I'm like, wow, because it lived by like 1 HP, but I'm gonna send in AGraveler with a Volt Switch full of energy. So my brain is just like, okay, this is going to be really rough because now Talonflame aligns with Frostless. So now I'm in a little bit of trouble depending on what they have in the back row. We're in even shields and arrows, and they have a freaking, oh, it's a Obstagoon. So just like the last match, this is going to be really, really sweaty. Bring your towels and bring your popcorn because this is going to be a long, drawn-out match of who can bait both shields, and then I'm going to have to finesse my way to victory with Frostless. As you see here, they're going to fire another move. And I'm going to have the shield. So, I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. Please don't boost. If it boosts, I'm like done. I'm like hella done. And as you see here, we're going to do the Rock Blast off. Hopefully, I get this shield. I need this Obstagoon to be down 2 shields, or I'm in a lot of trouble. And I grab the shield, which gives me a win condition, because all I'm going to do is I'm going to charge like a madman. We're going to save the shield, we're going to eat the Night Slash, and we're going to gather as much energy as humanly freaking possible. Talonflame comes in. I will fire my Avalanche, and I'm hoping like, okay, this is going to be really rough. I'm in a lot of trouble right now. So we're going to fire the Avalanche, and I basically have to farm this thing down before it incinerates me to death. And as you see here, I'm tapping frantically. And my opponent actually doesn't fire, which is like, I get the idea. You don't want me to farm you because you think my AGraveler has a Rock Blast queued, but it doesn't. And they screw their win con. Because I fired it off at the right interval, they're never going to get, that incinerate damage never registers, and that's GG. So my opponent tried a 2000 IQ play me, but the 2000 IQ was actually like one of your lose cons, because I didn't actually have energy on AGraveler. So I was very confused. You threw that match pretty hard, sir, and that's GG's. For the final battle, we get Graveler into Dragonite. And this is where everything's just like, oh, I'm in trouble, or like, oh, I'm in danger. I'm in danger. So as you see here, Rock Blast is gonna, well, I'm not in danger per se, but then like these you don't take, the damage isn't resisted from these Dragon Breaths. And that's a Shadow, so it's gonna be pretty squishy. So as you see here, I'm gonna fire these Volt Switches. keep firing these Volt Switches, and what I'm hoping is that we get this I'm hoping that they don't try to farm me down, or I'm gonna try to get this last. I'm trying to get to this Rock Blast, and I do, and they caught it. And I'm like, dang. That's what I was like. That was what I didn't want to happen. So they caught the Rock Blast, which does neutral damage, but I'm in a lot of trouble right now. I get 2 Volt Switches of energy, and then I get this extra one through. I elect a shield because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna under tap, and then I'm going to fire this last Rock Blast. The reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want to have that A-Slash against my back row, because if it's Gyro Ball, it can end my entire existence in the back. Thankfully, they don't shield it though, so I can farm this down before it gets to a Gyro Ball. But yeah, this is like, I was like, please do not shield this, because I need this chip damage. We're gonna farm it down, and hopefully we're gonna have a bunch of energy for whatever's in the back. They don't have enough energy for a Gyro Ball or Bulldoze, so as you see here, we're going to be able to just Powder Snow down. Now we have a lot of energy on our A9, and that's a Frostless. So that means I'm in trouble. Because when Frostless has shields, and you don't have shields, guess what? It's going to go to town. She's the queen, and the queen is going to take your life. For some odd reason, they expend their last shield, and I'm really scratching my head. And I'm like, why would you do that? My A-Grav is out of energy. And you don't know what my back row is. So why did you do that? So I'm gonna have to pull something really sweet here, because this Frostless has to ball out. It's gonna literally ball out. Unless they decide to Avalanche and screw it up their win con a little bit. They ball out. And now I have the option of, okay, so I either have to sack or I have to pray. So as you see here, they're at Avalanche range though, so I'm like, okay, fire the Avalanche, please. And it goes through because they needed to get to another ball. But I was like, whoo, this should KO. Keyword is should. We take it out and it does KO. I was gonna sack, but then I was like, oh god, they were one off, and that's GG's. I think my opponent thought that I wasn't going to, I don't know what you were thinking there. You should have sacked, but at the same time, I didn't sack either, so it wasn't the wrong play. And as you see, we got the sweet 5-0. And that's GG's. Lessons from today's Shoutcaster battles. Make sure your TMs just make sure your fast moves are correct. Because when I was, the funny thing is I was doing this battle during recording, 2 of these battles during, wrestling, before we had to do practice, and one of my kids shows up for he actually plays one of the 2 that plays PvP, and we need him battle, and he's like, I can beat you, coach. And I'm like, okay, bring it. And the funny thing, he's like, is that supposed to be charm? Even he can tell. He's like, is that supposed to be charm? And I'm like, no, it's not supposed to be charm. And he's like, oh, dang. Can you still win this? I'm like, yeah, I still got this. But yeah, make sure your fast moves are correct before you Shoutcast your battles, or before you enter Go Battle League in general, so you don't have to face the embarrassment like King of Charmanders did. I hope you guys enjoyed those battles. Again, this is the number 3 team statistically, but I think it's the strongest ABB team. Technically, the strongest one, or statistics-wise, is the Stunfisk Double Ghost. But Double Ghost can be prone to ice in the back, so it's that's why I like this one. Well, it's technically the same thing. It's just you're using it. Instead of having a giant boulder, you have a pancake. And instead of having a pancake, and instead of having the ghost tree in the back, you have a freaking A9. Both teams use Frostless. That's basically what I'm talking about. So, yeah. Anyways, this team can do really well. AGrav is a fantastic lead, and as you see, breaks a lot of shields, does some heavy damage. And double ice in the back does very well against a lot of different combos, especially those flyers. And of course, if you happen to get that tree, or if you're really good at energy management, Frostless does what Frostless does Frostless things. That's basically it. Frostless 2 shield strat with energy and expert shield management equals death for your opponent if you're put in the right scenarios like you saw in these battles. So again, I hope you enjoyed those battles. Do me a huge favor, please like and subscribe. Next to these 2 Charmanders, you will see the subscribe box, and it's totally free. And yeah, liking and subscribing is totally free, by the way. So if you put your mouse, again, under that little box, it'll pop up the sub tab, and you can easily subscribe from there. Really appreciate my current subscribers. We're almost at 3K subs, and that's my goal for the end of the year. So I really appreciate if you would just consider subscribing. I mean, you don't have to, but I'd really appreciate it. And again, it's free. So good luck in Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.